We're recording. I'll stand up here. And if everyone could just face the camera so they can see, you got 5 people, 6 audience members present. First thing I'd like to do is thank all you guys for being here today. This is for my public speaking class. I have to do a presentation on an information speech. So I'll be talking to you guys today about some computers. So I'm going to start off by saying this world that we live in is constantly filled with evolving technology. It's always beneficial to know what you're looking for when you're looking for a computer, or what you're going to be using the computer for, what you're going to be doing with it. It's always beneficial to know what you have to complete the task that you're trying to complete. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit today about different specifications that you look for in a computer and why they're important when looking for a computer. The first thing we'll talk about is a processor. So the processor is basically the brain of a computer, if you will. It determines what the computer can do, how fast it can do it, how powerful the computer is. The fastest processor on the market currently is an i7 processor. That's the best one that you can have in your computer. So if you're doing things like video editing or like a lot of gaming or kind of animation, things like that, those require a more intensive processor. So an i7 might be better. After the i7, you have an i5 processor, which is the second best processor from Intel Core. And that's just going to be used for some basic gaming if you wanted to, some more basic usage with it. Then you have an i3, which is your most basic processor that you can really have inside of a computer. That is one of the Intel Core top 3 processors. After that, the next biggest component when it comes to a computer is going to be the RAM. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. It's basically the multitasking capabilities of the computer. The computer's ability to take something that you're doing and handle it at a lot, like multiple things at a time. For instance, if you're playing games while also having like a strategy guide pulled up and trying to stream yourself, like you're going to need like 16 gigabytes of RAM or maybe even more than that for some tasks. So we really look for around 8 gigabytes if you're just using basic usage for the RAM in your computer. If you're doing more intensive things, 16 gigabytes or more would be preferable for you. Outside of the multitasking and the power of the computer, you have hard drives of the computer. This actually affects your speed as well. So there's solid state drives and then there's mechanical hard drives inside computers. Mechanical hard drives basically is kind of like a tire. It's constantly spinning when the computer is on. Generally, mechanical hard drives have higher capacity than than solid state hard drives, but they have a higher fail rate and they're not as fast either. So with a solid state drive, it means there's no moving parts. So the wear and tear that can occur from a constant moving of a hard drive being in your computer or the overheating, those things are eliminated. You don't have to worry about those problems when you have a solid state drive. It's also like faster load times, faster boot up speeds, and faster access to all information on your computer. When looking for computers, you'll probably see that abbreviated as SSD. That's just solid state drive. Generally, they're going to be a little bit smaller in capacity than mechanical hard drive. But things like that can easily be overcame with like flash drives or external hard drives. Either one of those things can overcome the capacity problems for a solid state drive. Outside of that, the next big thing you can look for is if the computer has dedicated graphics on the inside of it. So generally, if there is onboard graphics or not dedicated graphics in the computer, the processor is going to have to handle everything to do with graphics, so it's going to kind of slow the rest of the processes of the computer down. If you have a dedicated graphic card on the inside of your computer, that handles anything to do with the graphics being rendered and things of that nature. So it enables the computer to work a lot better, run a lot smoother, and be a lot faster when you are trying to do things like gaming or, like I said earlier, video editing. Other than that, there are like operating systems that you can use in different computers. Some people may be more familiar with like a Mac operating system. Some people may be familiar with like a Windows operating system. Those are the 2 main ones, although there are a couple others that you can use. Main differences between those is just a preference thing. Some people are more used to using the Mac operating systems. If you are, the same kind of specs that we've been talking about can be found in Apple-based computers, just like they can be found in Windows-based computers. So the specs are identical on both sides of the playing field. The operating system is just kind of the next big thing that you'd want to look at. Some computers that you see now are actually what's called a 2-in-1, which actually have the ability of folding the computer backwards and interacting with the screen by touching it. You can get pens and you can like write papers this way, you can sign electronic documents this way, lots of things you can really do with a 2-in-1 computer that you wouldn't be able to do with a non-touchscreen computer. This is some newer technology that's coming out these last couple of years here. Outside of that, the only other things that you really look for in computers, other than you have, obviously, like I said, your RAM, you have your processor, your type of hard drive, what kind of graphics the computer has, and then you're just looking for other features like if it's got a backlit keyboard to it, what kind of ports are on the side. All those things are what make a computer right for you. So just knowing what you're going in looking for. If you have additional accessories that require USB ports like flash drives or external hard drives or some kinds of mice, those things require USB ports, so you're going to want to make sure there's more of those on your computer. If you don't need those kinds of things, if you have all Bluetooth accessories, which are wireless connections, then ports like that might not be important to you. Important, see that's a little pun there. Other than that, that's really all I have for you guys today. Really appreciate you guys being here and listening to my information speech on computers. Does anyone have any questions about computers? All right, well, like I said, just make sure your processor meets the requirements. i7 is the best. Don't go below an i3. Definitely look for some RAM. 8 gigabytes, I wouldn't suggest going below that. It's going to enable you to do any task that you need to do. As far as the dedicated graphics, just make sure if you're going to be doing any gaming or video editing or anything to do with animation or graphics, so it's definitely beneficial to have a dedicated graphics card. If you want a touchscreen, look for a 2-in-1 computer, some even detached completely from the keyboard. But that's all I got for you guys today. This has been Logan Purdue, and this has been my information speech.